I'm Lisa Knepper from the Institute for Justice. I'd like to talk to you about civil forfeiture, the power of the government to take and keep property such as cars, cash, and homes on a police officer's mere suspicion that the property is connected to a crime. In 2010, the Institute for Justice released a groundbreaking study called Policing for Profit that documented how police and prosecutors across the country are abusing their forfeiture powers to add hundreds of millions of dollars to their department's budgets. Here's how civil forfeiture works and what can be done about it. If police suspect that you committed a crime, they can arrest you and put you on trial. At that trial, prosecutors must prove that you are guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. But if police suspect your car was involved in a crime, they can take it, sell it, and in most places, pocket the proceeds to pad their budgets. They need not prove you committed any crime or even arrest you to take your property away. Welcome to the upside-down world of civil asset forfeiture. To make things right side up, the solution is simple. Forfeiture laws should require a conviction, remove the profit incentive, and safeguard innocent owners. How do police view forfeiture? Here's what a Missouri police chief and a former federal prosecutor have to say.
There's some limitations on it. You know, it's actually there's not really on the forfeiture stuff. We just usually base it on something that would be nice to have that we can't get in the budget, for instance. So, you know, we try not to use it for things that we need to depend on, you know, because we need to go ahead and have those purchased. But it's kind of like pennies from heaven, you know, it gets you a toy or something that you need is the way we typically look at it.
Probably the biggest problem with forfeiture today is that prosecutors and investigators, whether they're federal agents or state police or sheriff's deputies, all have a direct financial incentive to forfeit property because under the current laws in effect, both for the federal government and for almost all of the states, the law enforcement agencies get to keep the forfeited property and use it for law enforcement purposes.
Another big problem with civil forfeiture is that you don't need to be convicted to lose your property. Consider what happened to this driver passing through Tennessee.
Reeby was driving down I-40 heading west through Putnam County when he was stopped for speeding. A Monterey police officer wanted to know if he was carrying any large amounts of cash.
And I said, around 20,000. And then at that point he said, do you mind if I search your vehicle? And I said, no, I don't mind. I certainly didn't feel I was doing anything wrong. It was my money.
That's when the officer confiscated the cash, $22,000 in all, based on his suspicion that it was drug money.
Why didn't you arrest him?
Because he hadn't committed a criminal law.
Officer Larry Bates says the amount of money and the way it was packed gave him reason to be suspicious.
The safest place to put your money, if it's legitimate, is in a bank account.
But it's not illegal to carry cash.
No, it's not illegal to carry cash. Again, it's what the cash is being used for to facilitate or what it's being utilized for.
But you had no proof that that money was being used for drug trafficking, correct? No proof.
And he couldn't prove that it was legitimate.
I told him I had active bids on eBay that I was trying to buy a vehicle, and they just didn't want to hear it.
In fact, Reeby had proof on his computer, but the Monterey officer drew up a damning affidavit citing his own training that common people do not carry this much U.S. currency.
Drivers aren't the only people who lose their property. Innocent owners who are not involved in any crime can share the same fate. In Massachusetts, an elderly couple's property is being threatened with forfeiture. They have not been convicted or ever been charged with any crime.
My name is Russ Caswell. I run the Caswell Motel in Tewksbury, Massachusetts. My father built it in 1955. It's been in the family ever since then, and I took it over in 1984. I'm 69, my wife's 71. And we had hoped at this stage we'd be able to retire and do what retired people do. And now the federal government is trying to take our property. And we have done absolutely nothing wrong.
Civil forfeiture laws represent one of the most serious assaults on private property rights in our nation today. And the Motel Caswell case epitomizes everything that is wrong with our nation's civil forfeiture laws. the Caswells stand to lose their entire property, something they have worked for their entire lives, even though the police make no allegation that the Caswells have done anything wrong. And indeed, the Caswells have no criminal record whatsoever. Under civil forfeiture laws, people who are not convicted or even charged with criminal activity can face the loss of their property.
Defenders of civil forfeiture claim it is a useful tool to take profits from large drug dealers and organized crime. But for the states IJ has studied, the data do not support that claim. For example, in Minnesota, the average forfeiture is about $1,000. In fact, only about 4% of property seized in Minnesota was worth more than $5,000. These numbers reveal two important points. First, forfeiture is not frequently being used for its advertised purpose, busting large criminal enterprises. Second, the dollar amounts are so small that property owners don't even bother challenging the forfeiture because it would cost more to hire an attorney. In fact, data from 2010 show that only 17% of forfeitures in Minnesota were reviewed by a judge. In IJ's Policing for Profit report, Minnesota's laws earned a grade of D for protecting property rights. Most states got similarly low grades. To stop abuse, good state forfeiture law should do three things. 1, require that people are convicted of a crime before their property is forfeited. 2, remove the incentive to forfeit by depositing forfeiture proceeds in a neutral account, like the state's general fund, instead of supplementing the budgets of police and prosecutors. 3, safeguard innocent owners. A person not involved in a crime should not lose their property. The burden should be on the government to prove the person had actual knowledge about the crime or consented to it before they lose their property. Basing reforms to forfeiture laws on these three principles would allow state legislators to be tough on crime while still respecting property rights. Learn more at ij.org.